Don't even show me. I don't want to see it. It's free choice, yeah? All right. So take a look at that. Make sure you got it in your mind, right? It's so bizarre because actually all the cards are different, right? They don't all the same or anything like that. There's one card that people get more often than not. People think it's a popular one, but I have a feeling that you probably ended up landing on that one for some reason. It's like something that everyone thinks about when they think about a playing card. They think about the Ace of Spades, right? Did you get the Ace of Spades?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's popular for a reason.
Everyone thinks it.
Fucking got me.
You're listening to Hayes Radio Network, Cannabis Lifestyle Radio.
Hey, let's go. What's up, y'all? My name is Amir Zendenom, and you are watching a brand new episode of In the Clear with Amir. And today I have a wonderful guest. His name is Jax Ridd. He is a magician and a longtime friend of mine as well. I have been to some of his shows in the past. I've been watching his career over the last 10 years or so, and it's awesome seeing when people are constant with their craft and their passion and then turning that into a career. So welcome to the show, Jax.
Thank you for having me, man.
Hell
That's
yes.
awesome.
So Jax is a magician. A lot of the times you guys are like these mysterious type, like, you know, you do a very good job of not just as much like playing the character, but like that's who you are,
Right.
kind of thing, you know, like you're not bullshitting. And one of the things that I respect after seeing especially you do this, I mean, it's like, you know, I watch the big guys, like you see like the Chris Angels and the David, but the mainstream guys, you know, but there are certain things like with David Blaine that I'm like, dude, you actually held your fucking breath for 17 minutes. Like there is no secret to that. Like you literally trained it and then you did it. So going off of that, I realized you guys are just putting in like hours of work into a craft that like nobody else wants to do. And because of that, you are at a more heightened level of consciousness and spirituality. And because of that, you learn things about human nature and yourself through that others don't really grasp. So I guess just to start with you, just tell everybody who you are, how long you've been doing this, what your background is.
So, I'm Jax. I grew up in LA. I've been doing this for about 15, 16 years at this point, in a professional way. I started at about, I think I got my first magic book. This is the classic thing that everyone asks, right? How'd you get into magic? I did get a magic book when I was pretty young, but I didn't really do much with it. And I think I started really doing stuff with it when I was at the end of high school, started getting into it pretty seriously. And as serious as you can in high school. But I think from there, the reason why I stuck with it was because I really enjoyed creating an experience for people, like designing a surprise. Because that's the thing that no matter how many times I do it, the nice thing is either creating a new show for the same audience or creating this, repeating something you've done before for a new audience. And at that point, you never really know how someone's going to react to something. So that's the most fun part about doing magic, and that's why I stay connected to it. Like, if it was just about performing a trick or showing something that they couldn't see, like I would probably have lost interest by now. But I think the reason why I stay connected with it is because I get to lead someone down a fantasy pathway and see how they like where I try to lead them, you know? So a lot of it's that. A lot of it's trying to decide how I want to see the world or how I think something should work and showing people that version. And it's fantasy, but if you suspend your disbelief, I try to give you something realistic to hold on to. So that's what I generally do with magic. And there's lots of different other ways to apply the same skills, and so I've gone a little into those arenas as well, but I think overall that's what I stay connected with the art of that.
So what would you like? What is your definition of magic? Because this is a huge industry.
yeah.
You just said you were like, there are all these different things that I'm
Yeah.
starting to add into it now.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
what would you, as the magician, say? What is magic?
So, yeah, it's one of those things where magic is the form of a magician is such an old idea. It's an ancient idea. It's an ancient role in society. It's an archetype. It's this person that is showing you another world or some sort of conduit from this world to another. That connection is a magician. So when you look at it through a performance setting, like I classify magic in two. If I was to generalize, I would say there's two elements of magic or two sides of magic. There's the performance side, which is magic as entertainment, and this is very different from the other side of it, which I would classify as more occult or esoteric magic,
Yes.
which is more ritual and more like self. It's for yourself. You're performing for yourself in another way. So like
And you really opened me up to that world
Oh.
too. So
that's just, it's a fun thing because they do kind of cross over every now and then, but I try to keep the lines pretty clear unless I'm intentionally trying to get in there and make you think about both sides.
right.
Because it's why I can walk up to people and be like, well, magic isn't real. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. We're calling this magic. It's not real.
Right.
They're thinking about it in a different definition.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But that's, if I was to say there's two ways to do it, that's the two ways.
What would you say, like, experience-wise? You say like 16 years you've been doing this, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do in the beginning I was saying how it's clear that you're putting in all of these hours and that's what's separating you from everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think that increase is in those hour time put in, like when you feel like you're really comfortable with what you're doing here? Like, would you say that was an easy trick for you to do like 10 years ago, like just as easy? Like what is the learning curve on this? Because for me, it's like, just as the consumer side of magic, where I've just been that kid that's always like, how the fuck did you fucking do that, bro? Like, what the fuck? Like, so, but that's why I started asking the deeper questions of like, all right, there's something to this. It's a skill. It's an art, So, to end this leading question, like, what would you say is the learning curve for, going from when you first start to being that, like, you're a professional now at this, like you set up shows and produce and like do, so what would you say is that learning curve and how long it took, say, like from when you were a teenager to when you were at my place 5-6 years ago to today?
Yeah. So I think, I can only really speak to my progression. I think in my progression, I don't even know where it's going. I know where I want to go, but I don't even know if that's where I'll end up, right? Or if I'll feel like that's the right place to be. But for now, it's like I feel like there's the technical progression, right? So there's going to be, like, let's say a trick, let's say a card trick. Someone fixes a card, you find it. There are so many different ways of doing that, but if you don't know the technicalities of it, you're never going to be able to perform that. So there's like the technical progression. Can I accomplish this idea? Can I accomplish this effect, this trick? But then you're just hands at that point. Your hands and whatever object you're using, and you're just doing that trick. And if you just did that trick, it wouldn't be engaging. It wouldn't be interesting. Now there's the performer progression, right? How do you deliver these things? And then even from there, so to answer the question in a yes or no way, like 10 years ago, doing that would have been difficult because a lot of magic is like how you introduce something and how you get out of it gracefully. How do you get into an idea gracefully? How do you get out of it gracefully? So you're really just, you're storytelling and you're trying to lead people to a punchline, but the punchline is different every time. So.
Right, and going off of that, it's like the last show I went to of yours where you weren't too focused on the trick aspect as you were focused on the other side.
Was that was the altar? That was the Halloween thing.
Yeah,
that was very fun.
So what would you say is like the transitional differences between that? Because I came and I told, so this is very interesting on the consumer side where you're just like, oh yeah, like we were gonna go with my friends and I was like, yeah, like let's go to this thing, my cousin and her dude, we're working their asses off. I've been seeing all, like, it's like, and they're like, well, what is it? I'm like, like a magic show.
Yeah.
You know, and then at
Right.
the end they were like, was that a magic show? I was like,
Right.
yeah, but like it's, you know, I was trying to explain what you
Exactly,
are to
yeah.
them. So if you could explain that in depth into how that is magic, that esoteric side that you were talking about, right? You know?
Yeah. So that show was interesting. That was an experiment in trying to break down a modern a classic seance, right? So in a classic seance, there's a bunch of people that get together, and there's usually a medium. This medium will contact some other world, right? And that is the classic magician archetype. Right?
Yeah.
You are getting people from this world, and you're trying to contact another world. So it's classic. It's something that persists in people's minds always. They always think about it. So in that show,
And the consumer can resonate with that too.
yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, it speaks to so many primal things that we want. But so for that show, we tried to make it more of a theatrical experience by deconstructing the medium. That was really a theatrical show.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
It was less. I think when people see, there's so many different ways you can think about a magic show, though, right?
Exactly.
So I guess if you were to say the words magic show, people would expect a number of tricks.
Some card like what you did, you know, it's like
Right.
Ace of Spades. You're like,
Right.
like
A number of tricks, which are surprises, revelations, something that surprises you, something that like visually looks really cool or something like that.
But that's just one little
appearing.
piece of the whole.
Right. So it's it's a pretty I don't know, easy bar to hit with magic. Like if you do a bunch of tricks and you fill an hour, then it's a magic show. Cool. But what it's turning out to be now is people are seeing more magic. They know how to do more things. It's becoming a little bit less about the how it's done. Like you don't really care.
Yeah, you could go on YouTube and be like, all right, how did you do this
Yeah.
trick? And then there's gonna be some guy who, you know.
Yeah, for a magic show, in my opinion, it has to involve a little bit more theater. So you have to be telling some sort of a story, leading people on some sort of a journey, and that's the fun theatrical part of it, right? So it's combining technical and theatrical. But that show, was an attempt to immerse people in a weird like postmodern seance, you know. So we had the house, we had the salt line, like it was very immersive, you know, coming into it.
From the second I came in, before you even started the show,
Yeah.
you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You guys like put us in a room, put some other people there, and you're like,
We tried to play with
Yeah.
a lot of concepts. It was very conceptual, but we wanted to, really give you an immersive, interactive experience that you wouldn't normally find at a seance, and break it down. So that's the hard part, though, right? It's the people that expect the magic show part of it, and also being able to satisfy them, while also giving people a satisfying theatrical show, theatrical dramatic experience. So it's something that's really happening a lot in magic right now. There was a big show that happened in New York called In and of Itself, and this is one that a lot of people have talked about in the magic community and also just in general theatrical community. People came in that show and they said they were expecting either more of a magic show or more of the dramatic show. And this is hugely successful, by the way. Like it had a whole Broadway run, very successful, and still people went into it and they were like, "Is this a magic show? I want a magic show. I didn't get it." So it's really just a labeling issue, you know, because when it goes in that LA Times section, arts and culture, it's like, is this a magic show?
Right.
Is this a play? Like, what is this? What's going on? And that's, I don't know. Things are being broken down right now. Barriers, labels are going away. So.
Right, and that's why I asked the question, like, well, what is magic? You know, it's like, is it, you know, and that's why you're doing a very good job of explaining that it is more than like pulling the cat out of the hat kind of deal, you know? So would you say that this has been like, let's talk about the history of magic. It is a 1,000-year-old industry and community, something that doesn't have, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the written records aren't there as much as like passed down words until recently, you know? So it is one of those communities that's like special in that sense. Would you say that comparing it to the historical aspects of what that industry and community were, say 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, to what you're transitioning into now, which is more of like an entertainment show with those, like in my, you know, ignorant mind, I'm like, oh, it seems like maybe it's going back to its roots in a sense.
I think so. Well, So there's a
Like if you could explain the history of the industry and the community and like
Right.
where it got its start and
So I'd probably say, I mean, it's all guesswork as far as how it actually started, but there has always been an innate desire for humans to figure something out, right? We're puzzle solvers naturally. So if there comes along an instance or somebody who can give you a puzzle that you can't quite solve, that becomes very addicting culturally.
Right.
And that's where I think it definitely started, where someone did something and someone else was like, whoa, wait, what is going on there? And they did it to someone else and like, whoa, what's going on there? Then people were like, oh, this person is really cool. Like they can do stuff that I don't know how it is or how it's done, And I think it probably started there. But then I can't imagine a time. I was trying to think about this and
Like,
see.
are there any historians, like magician historians, that go into ancient times and pull any texts or like any actual history?
Right.
Or
I mean, it's there's a really. It can't even be accurate at this point. I mean, it's all like hieroglyphics, right?
Right.
That's probably the oldest written thing you could get. So there's this story that magicians love to tell where they say that there's this trick, where there's like cups and balls, and you move cups around. It's like a shell game almost, but
Yeah.
you present it like in a show. People like to say there's hieroglyphics of that in Egypt of someone performing it. It's very vague, cups and there's things, and you don't exactly know what's going on,
Right,
but
right.
it's something you can cite.
Are you talking about like the cup thing where like they're
Yeah.
like, all right, pick the cup down.
Pick the
like,
cup.
yeah.
Which one has the ball? Oh, there's 2 balls. Okay, 3 balls. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I would imagine that seems very rudimentary. I would imagine it started with something like that, something appearing, disappearing. Like that's probably the easiest thing to get.
Yeah,
around.
like which hand? No hands. Like
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. But then you look at the division. I think is apparent from the start. If I were to make a guess, I would say there has always been a distinct division between someone who is a performer and someone who is, I guess, in the performance sense, like more of a healer. And speaking of, I have to say this now, but speaking of the way people, I say we live in a post-magic world. That's what I actually think now. Like talking about post-truth, but post-magic world, people don't care how it's done anymore, in my opinion. By and large, I'm starting to see a cultural shift where they can know it's sleight of hand, that they can still be entertained with it.
Wow.
And this goes back to someone telling a story, an anthropologist telling a story about visiting a village where there was basically a healer, some sort of a shaman.
The shaman, yeah, the medicine man,
medicine,
or
medicine man, witch doctor, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Where there was a child that was feeling sick, feeling ill, and they went in and they went into their house, took an egg, and then took the egg, pressed it onto their stomach. This is a raw egg, pressed it onto their stomach, and then there's at some point an egg switches, of course, or something like that. But then now they have this same egg, quote unquote, and they break it open, and there's a black yolk. It's just full of darkness or whatever, right? And then there's a whole little community that's watching this performance or this diagnosis or this healing ritual, and the anthropologist sees the switch, right? Maybe people don't see it, maybe people do, but the anthropologist sees the switch. And then he asks the other people that are there, it says, well, didn't you see him switch the egg? And someone there responds that lives in the village, says, who cares how the egg switched? How did he get the illness out of the boy? So clearly, like, they're following 2 narratives, right? One, the anthropologist of the, I guess, more Western mindset is following the trickery of this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how can we break this down? But people that are there realize the trickery is irrelevant to this. This person's enacting a change on this individual, and how is that happening?
And is
Can
it
you tell
still
me
a
that?
trick, therefore?
No, it's not a trick anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they can tell. They're not even paying attention to the fact that the egg is different now. They're paying attention to the darkness has been sucked out of them. Like, this person has been relieved of this weight, and that's magic as theater, magic as metaphor, magic as some sort of a change. And I think people are caring less, honestly, you know?
That's so interesting because now that I think about it, you're right. Like I said, I can just go on YouTube and literally anything that you
Yeah.
do for the
Yeah.
most part,
Yeah.
it's there. That's how you probably learned a lot of your shit,
Yeah.
you know? Like, so in that sense, I'm not any less drawn to what you're doing if I can go on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because actually, in the very beginning, I was mentioning how it's clear you put these hours in. That's what separates you from me. I have not put those hours in.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, even if I know exactly how you're doing it, you're just like, damn, bro, I just watched that video on YouTube. That's not easy. Like, this guy literally had to like I
Yeah.
seen you with cards
Yeah.
for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And now what I see you like when you're just like flipping I'm like, dude, you don't just, that's not just a natural skill. Like, you have to
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
sit there with fucking little paper cards, like for years and years and years, like doing whatever you do with them
Yeah.
to do your magic or
Yeah.
do it. Like, it's just a skill in itself.
Yeah.
Like, even if you didn't call yourself a magician, like you can do something like that. You're like, whoa, that guy put a lot of fucking time into like one of the things I'm trying to do right now is like grab flies, you know, like without like just just grab them, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have literally been training this for years. One day I'm going to be like that and then I'm going to be boom and the
Yeah.
fly's going to, but I recognize like Jesus Christ to do something that specialized is so many like focused out. So like one of the things, hand-eye coordination is something that I'm training a lot these days, you know? So like the ability of the hand-eye coordination that y'all have is like fucking mind-blowing. But going into this like the medicine man shaman type, like part of my I guess gap in knowledge on this and what I'm trying to put together, and again, like this whole episode is like, I'm this ignorant fucking guy who loves what you do and I have these questions and there are all these people that probably have these same questions. Let's bridge the gap, you know? So me, like, people literally call me a shaman and a medicine man now. I'm like, shut the fuck up, stop fucking calling me that. Like, you're your own medicine man. But in that sense, I have learned how to heal people. Like, you've seen what I do here. Like, it's in that sense, I'm like, okay, so, you know, going into still talking about the historical aspects of all of this, it's like one of the things that has hit me sometimes is like, you would hear something like Jesus turned water into wine. Jesus walked on water. And then you hear all these things about these prophets and like, what did you say? Like, they're just like, oh, I don't know how the fuck he did it. Like, so I guess like kind of deviating into that like religious aspect of I have that question for you. Like, do you think that religions have been literally founded on these same principles? Because so much of religious foundations have been founded on like some dude does some trick. Everybody else can't explain it. And then he's like, I guess it was God, bro.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can speak to, there's a story that's been pretty well documented. There was a French magician called Robert Houdin, and he was used to quell an uprising there was a French, some sort of colony in Africa, I think Southern Africa. And he went there to quell this uprising that was happening, like against the colonialists, right? So,
what a surprise.
Exactly.
Good job, y'all.
So at that time, he was sent down, and he was like, okay, well, let's have a duel or something. I think with whoever was leading that uprising. They took pistols, and then what the magician did was they shot the wall, like shot a wall next to them, like shot a corner off this wall that was behind them, and the wall started to bleed. And then immediately everyone was like, okay, this person is not from here. This is some otherworldly thing.
Right.
Let's just stop and we'll be done with this because we don't want to know what happens from here, you know? And so I think, I mean, I definitely think that that's an evidence of it being used in the past to exert some sort of manipulation or some sort of a power over a group.
So there's real history to that.
Yeah, I mean,
actually,
there's definitely history of that. You know,
Wow.
I'm not sure where it goes from there, but I know that, of course, I mean, humans will exert power and authority over people until.
You know,
like-
that's really interesting because from a colonial historical standpoint of colonialism, that was actually what a lot of the white European men did. They were just like these mystical people. So they'd be like, oh,
Right,
well,
yeah.
our text said that there would be this white-faced person that comes in and they're the god, and now, oh shit, like.
Yeah, it is weird.
So in that sense, it's like you can really trick people into anything. I mean, it gets
Yeah.
me thinking of things like witchcraft is something that I have a handful of friends who are really into. And I remember originally, like, say 10 years ago, I'd be like, this is fucking stupid. Like, that's because I guess from the like macho man standpoint, which, is the identity I'm trying to like fade away,
Yeah.
but still it's just like, that's bullshit. Fucking prove it. That's
Yeah.
stupid fucking get the fuck out,
Yeah.
But like crossing that over, do you see the crossovers between all these worlds too? Like, would you say like I'm the shaman, they're the girl who says she's a witch, but she's still like doing similar things to what you're doing? I guess ultimately where I'm going with this is a much bigger community than we're giving it credit for then, right? Because then it would exceed, like, given the definition of what we're saying magic is, your definition, then this is a much bigger community than we're giving it credit for then, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think so. I think.
And you actually would have more powers than the average person is giving you credit for.
Yeah, I think that what ends up happening is anything that people don't quite understand but exert some sort of a power influence over them is going to be called magic forever, I think. For instance, so when you're talking about grabbing the fly, if you did that, I think in the right context, in the right way, that would seem like a magic trick, right? That seemed like magic. Like, wait,
How the fuck do
I
you do
can't
that?
do that. How do they do it? And there's also that element of, so that's watching, right? But there's also the element of the ritual, the change. So this reaches into like tarot. This reaches
Right.
into
Like
like
psychics
the I
and-
Ching, psychics and stuff like that, where it's become a different field. It's called something different now, but it's very much in the same way.
You all came from the same place kind of thing.
It's in the same origin. Is how I feel. Because in magic tricks, so let's say just a card trick, we'll just use that as the classic example. Someone takes something, connects himself with it, a card, and then that thing is found again. So it's attributing meaning to something that is completely meaningless, right? But it's an object, something you can actually connect with because it looks a specific way. So then you take that and apply it directly into the tarot, which is what 52 playing cards were based off of anyways.
Really?
Yeah, it was based off it. So the four suits.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's actually
Explain that. I didn't know that.
yeah. So the four suits roughly, I mean, this is what people say. The four suits roughly respond to the four seasons. 52 being the weeks of the year. And there's something to do with the values, like the 13 of them. If you add up the numbers, equals something. I forget exactly what, but it's based around that.
Oh, wow.
So, and it's based around the tarot. So the swords or the spades.
And then can you explain the tarot as well?
Yeah. So Zach does actually a lot more work with the tarot than I do. I focus on more, as far as divination rituals, I go with the I Ching, which is something that I grew up with. I feel more of a connection to it.
What is that?
It's so that is like an ancient Chinese ritual. It's based off a book, and it's a casting. It's a casting process. So you have a book of definitions basically, and you build a hexagram by casting either sticks or coins into a certain formation. You note your results, and then you take those results and you look at your definition for that hexagram, and you have some sort of direction. There's
Pretty much the same
it gives
concept.
you some sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So it based off of definitions, predefined entries, yeah. So with the tarot, it's very much similar, but in a totally different way because it's related to cards. Yeah, but I mean, they're both doing similar things where they're making you enact, engage with some sort of object, creating some sort of a random outcome, and having that outcome be meaningful. So that's a card trick. That's a I Ching reading. That's a tarot reading as well. That's how I feel. But they're in totally different places, right? People feel totally differently about them.
Right.
But then again, you can get the same people that go up to you and go like, oh, magic, that's not real, right? And you can get the same people to walk up to the tarot reader and be like, oh, that's not real. They might not say it in the same way, but people would walk up to you and be like, oh, this isn't that.
Like a psychic or something, you know?
Yeah,
They're just
like,
like,
oh,
yeah,
psychic,
you're just
yeah,
making
this
that
is
shit
that.
up, bro. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. But then at the same time, you know, for my own personal life, like the deeper I go into spirituality, the more you recognize, like, this is actually real shit.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
like
totally.
this magic stuff, like this heightened spirituality and consciousness that we were talking about in the beginning, like it's not fake. Like being able to read somebody's energy is not a fake concept. It is absolutely fucking real. That's how I can recommend the right kind of cannabis to y'all. You know, like I literally will look at your personality, see your aura, and be like, yeah, probably not a Jack Herrera. That's gonna make you fucking freak out. Like, you know, so that's. It's like a special skill and an ability. Those hours in, I guess that's just magic to everybody. You know,
well, I think
to everybody who doesn't put the hours into that, right?
Anything that is somewhat unexplainable in words, anything that can't be conveyed is like, okay, how can you do this? If you can say, okay, this is how you can do this, it starts to lose that mystique, right? It starts to.
That's like the definition of a trick. I just like thought about me doing a 360 and I was like, oh my God, there's like, I'm having a mind blow moment right now. I'm like, oh shit, that's why it's a trick. That's why everything's called, because other people can't do it. So they're like, what the fuck, you know?
So one fun thing that I like to do, I have a bookmark folder that is all these magical ideas, these real world applications of some of these things, and sometimes I try to layer onto tricks.
That's what I like about what you do. See, I noticed that you're using real shit, like real provable, you know.
I think it's fun because it allows it to be a little bit more believable because I'm citing some sort of a source. And one thing I looked into for a little bit, just in a precursory way, there's this thing called chicken sexing, where chicks look almost identical when they're born, so you can't see any sex organs on them, but when you buy, this comes from Zach, who grew up in Vermont and had chickens. So when you buy chickens, you buy them by their sex, but they're so young, right? So how do they get divided before they're purchased? So there's someone that'll basically go up and they can look at a chicken, a little baby chick, and tell you its gender with like 95% accuracy. There's no exact way to do there's nothing that looks different about them. You can't point it and say, oh, that's a male, that's a female, okay. But when they pick them up, they will sort them, and this is chicken sexing a chicken that has no discernible
so they're essentially using other senses to be able to somehow
that is unexplainable to others, that these people fall into these positions, and somehow they found themselves with this ability to do this. Right, so there could be something they're holding out of us.
Chicken sexting?
Chicken sexing.
Sexing. Okay, so I was like
sexting.
Sexing. Yes,
that's a problem amongst young adult
chicken
chickens.
Sexing. What the fuck?
But yeah, it's one of those things where you don't know if there's like a small group of people that are like, yeah, we figured it out. This is
and they're just keeping it to
not sharing
themselves,
it, right?
Yeah.
Or there is something legitimately where they can pick them up and say, all right, they could feel something about it, and. You know, I don't know because I only know the stories that have been told, and that's a story that has been told many times.
Wow. Yeah. And you know what's crazy? Going off of like the factory farm videos, they throw all the male chicks in grinders when they're first, like literally you'll see a thing of like, but I actually had that question one time where I was like, how the fuck do they know that they're all like little, like, I literally thought that one because it's like, it's a wild like shit. They do it. This is like the chicken industry. I don't know if you knew this, but like, when they do egg production and things like that, they have these big grinders, like huge, and like thousands of little baby chicken get shredded up into it alive, and then they get turned into like, say, feed for different animals and things like that.
Oh my God.
So that's one of the things though, like it's literally savage, right when they're born. I know it's savage. It's disgusting. Like it's similar to how like, you know, when you're in the dairy industry, they take the male little baby calf, kill that little fucker like right away. You know, it's the same thing. Like it's a byproduct, but you know, the point of all that is I always wondered like, dude, how the fuck do they have like these thousands of these chicken and they just like, because they have to keep the female ones. So now it's chicken sexing is, holy fuck. Yeah, because I mean, that's another thing. I'll look at cannabis strain, right? And then another cannabis strain, everybody else says that looks exactly the same. But to me, I'm like, do you not see how that looks different?
I mean, I bet
So maybe
it's
there's,
one of
like-
those things where, yeah, it's like the sushi master, right, with the grains of rice. Is if you spend enough time with something, you start to develop some
Yes.
sort of other feelings.
Like feeling, yeah, some
about
sense, yeah.
stuff. Yeah, and it does relate. It's industry specific. It is whatever you spend that time in. This is why the word magic is used in so many different
Yeah,
ways. Like,
yeah.
oh,
It's
Michael-
magic.
Yeah, like Michael Jordan's a magician on the court and stuff like that.
Wow,
because
yeah.
some people have just spent so much time and energy and resource doing something that they legitimately have gained some sort of weird edge that no one else has, and that's magic. You can't explain it, right?
Damn. It's blowing my mind because like my goal was I was like, all right, there's something to this that's like, just painting a picture in my head. I'm like, okay, you do this, but then, it was that thing that I went to your show where I was like, wait a minute, I do this shit.
Mm-hmm,
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
It is very similar to like, I do it in like a different,
Yeah.
like going down this little fucking pretty rabbit hole right here.
Yeah.
Like when you take some DMT or something. But, it's like in my heart, I felt that there was some kind of greater connection here between all of these worlds. And then it's like you bring up Tara and then you bring up fucking Michael Jordan,
Yeah.
and then you say shaman and I'm like, oh shit, that's like the world that I feel like I'm going down.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, well, magic is everywhere and it's everything.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's magic is very related to psychology.
Yeah.
And because we process everything through our like minds, everything is prone to these sort of magical directions.
Right.
Like I think about the placebo effect, and I think
That's
about
exactly
that.
what I wanted to bring up when you brought the egg thing up.
Yeah.
Like that's just straight placebo. It just shows the power of placebo.
Right. And you could maybe say at the beginning that might have been used and people would call it magic,
Right.
but really it's just it's a little quote unquote flaw in our design or something where it doesn't quite make sense, but it works. You can't really explain it.
Yeah.
You can't really explain placebo effect
Yeah.
too well, really.
That's that, like a lot of the spiritual work I try to do is going deep and explaining like what is this placebo, because like
Yeah.
we call it the placebo effect, but in reality I think it's just like you learn how to turn a switch on in your body, and
Yeah.
then but when you're not trained in it properly, the switch will get subconsciously turned on and then you won't realize that it's the switch.
Yeah, and
because the
you-
deeper I go in, I'm like, I have a headache. And it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's because I'm like, I've learned how to snap in and out of
Right.
those feelings. Whereas somebody who doesn't train, like feeling the placebo effect and then going deep into it, meditating into it, like, I mean, you're doing the same thing in your own right. So that's like, yeah, go off of like the placebo effect where you see, I mean, just that's mostly how these reactions are happening, like
Yeah.
what is your take on the placebo effect from like
Oh,
a
yeah.
spiritual, because I like, as you see, I have my take on this, like I
Mhm.
don't think it's just like the fake effect,
Yeah.
it's there's something real going on
Yeah.
here, and if humans could figure out how to turn this on and off
Yeah.
at will, like we would be at a completely different place in human
Yeah.
consciousness.
The things that you put your faith in, the things that you believe in have power. Like whatever you choose. There's all sorts of different ways of saying it, but that is the crux of it. It's whatever you start to believe in, whatever you start to really, really believe in, that has power. So you could take something like a lucky charm. You could take something like prayer. You could take something involving any sort of practice that you strongly believe in, and that will be true because that's how we process and that's how we do things. So the way that I do it is what I think is I try to be very honest with myself. That's the thing that I really hang on to, try and enact change and speak, like jumping off of a placebo idea. If I want something to change or I want something to be gone, I have to be honest with myself about how this will happen, what I really, really want, and then I'd be very careful about to never ever lie to myself. And then if I establish some sort of a rule book with myself, then I can say, okay, I'm going to do this, in a month or something like that. And just by the fact that I know that I'm not going to lie to myself, I will make it happen. And that speaks to a little bit of, other sort of spiritual things about manifestation and things like this.
Right.
But I always try to break it down to just being honest with yourself and never. So it's just a personal tick with me. Like if I say I'll be somewhere at something, I will not break that, no matter what. And if I break it, like that is the most devastating thing to do, because I've lied to
That's
myself.
how I feel too. Yeah.
I can't not do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm very careful about what I try to say or what I want to set out for myself.
Yeah, sorry for being 5 minutes late today, by the way. So you see,
Oh,
like,
no.
that's, you see, I pay attention to that. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm not there at fucking 3:30 like I told.
Yeah.
So it's like I totally feel you on that.
It's one of those things where, setting intention
Yeah.
and doing that, because that is how, I guess, and also looking into things like the I Ching or things like tarot, where that is 100% what it is. If you believe it and you really concentrate on it, that's what will happen. So all these words are completely meaningless until you start to ascribe power to them. So ascribe power to your own words, and then you start to be able to create your own path. Or you can fit into a structure, like whatever structure works best with your personality, right? So that's why people have different outlets of different ways of getting that result on themselves. But I think it's all the same mechanism inside our brains. We've just found different words for it.
Right.
That's what divides people.
That's all human division is. It's just like,
Yeah.
you're literally saying the same fucking thing I am,
It's
and
the
now we want to kill
same
each other, bro. What the
thing.
fuck is going on?
Yeah.
And I keep seeing, that's why I'm just like, everything I do in my life is like trying to bridge this gap, whatever it is, there's a gap, and then because of the gap, there's chaos.
Yes. Yeah, because we don't quite understand. We're like, no, that's different. I'm calling it something else. And this is where words start to have meaning. again.
Yes.
But really, it's just the structure of it. What's the mechanism inside all of our brains that's working relatively in the same way?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's why like the religion thing is so big for me, because I had to be like, fun fact, half of college I was a religious studies major before I switched out, because I was like, this is fucking bullshit, because I had this like click. I was taking this religious philosophy class where we were studying 7 different religions. Like half of them were monotheistic, the other half were like Asian cultures, you know. And I was literally like, wait, so you guys are monotheist and you're like a Confucianist and Taoist and Buddhist, and you know, it's the same shit. I was like, what the fuck? Like, and I just had this like, this like frustrated, oh my God moment. Like, you guys have all been killing each other for thousands of years because you're saying the same fucking thing. Like, what the? And then I just had this, like, I don't know if you remember when I used to be like super atheist. Like, I was just like, there's like, you know, just trying to prove the whole like religion is false. You cannot logically prove this. But that was also where that was the macho man in me being like, yeah, fucking, where's the logical proof, bro?
Yeah.
Like, you can't, where's God? I can't see that fucking guy. So, but now I understand that there's more to those religions than the words, because it's clearly they're getting past the words is the hard part.
Yeah.
One of the favorite, like the most valuable things I've ever heard was from a Shaolin monk, like at a monastery. And he was like, spirituality expressed is no longer spirituality.
Yeah. Oh, I see that.
So it has been one of the most powerful quotes I've ever heard, because it's so simple, but it's so true. You have these feelings inside, and literally as soon as you start trying to verbalize them in this consciousness or this level of these dimensional planes that we're in, like right this second, you know, then some sort of bastardization happens with your spirituality. This barf, like I call this just barf, you know, like this is just so me and you can explain us looking at each other, like in a real, like it would be preferred to me that me and you could look at each other like this, and then the hour of the show is just done.
Yeah.
Because we already know in our head, like all we're doing right now is just barfing out what's already in here.
Yeah.
Right? So that's like a beautiful area I see that y'all are doing and trying to just connect. I brought up David Blaine in the very beginning, right? I look up to that guy so much. Like, I don't know what your opinions of him are, but like the amount of work, like he made Wim Hof look like a little bitch with how long he held his breath. You know, like I'm literally, it takes a heightened level of spirituality that even like me, I'm still sitting there going like, like I need to be able, because I'm if I can explain things, if I'm beginning to explain in my own head placebo and all of these things. So tell me about what you are doing right now. You just did a show.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Tell the listeners just what you actually do, because I keep talking about, your show and this thing that I went to, and I had this,
okay,
but you are doing different things. Like that's not the only thing that you do.
That's right.
You had something this weekend, you're doing something again this week.
Yeah.
So
I think the thing that I'm really, really interested in at this point in time is alternative applications of magic. So this goes back to, that seance show. Even with the seance show, it's taking something that is traditionally done a certain way and trying to apply it in a different way. Same idea, different application. We had our second April 20 cannabis magic event, which was created just for the simple idea that, okay, I know a lot of people go to bars and, have a few drinks and watch a magic show, and it's fun. I watch a comedy show or something like that. I'm pretty drunk, but there's no place that someone does, getting really smoking a bunch of weed and watching a magic show.
Yeah.
And I think that's just such a fun way to do it. So I wanted to give people the ability to go there, really, and have that experience where this is just like a regular nightclub, but hey, different thing going on here. And then recently we were at DEF CON, which is a hacking security conference.
At the same time we were, and I didn't even know that.
Oh, what?
Yeah, hell yeah, I didn't tell you? Dude, so we were there raging with my homie Marlon, who's a DJ, and we're just walking by in the hotel because it was in Mandalay Bay. And I'm we're walking with the security guard, and I'm like, hey bro, what the fuck is going on here? These people don't look like they're this is the nerdiest bunch of fucking dudes. And then I just saw hacker t-shirts and and then that's what I found out. And then I saw you guys' pictures and I was like, oh shit, we were literally in the same place. So but I wish I got to go to DEF CON. Continue. Sorry.
Well, next year, definitely.
Yeah, definitely going next year, dude. Holy shit.
It is so cool.
So what do you guys do there?
So we ran a village, which is we hosted a bunch of workshops and presentations, and we gave a few workshops and demonstrations ourselves. But mostly it was approaching security through the magic lens, right? And this is something that I would tell magicians that I'm going to DEF CON or we're doing something at DEF CON, and they would, a lot of them would say, why? How does that relate? And I'm like, okay, well, and I'd give the whole backstory. I mean, there's so much in espionage, in the security world that has that to do with magic. I mean, there was a magician who wrote a tradecraft manual for 3-letter agencies in America, on how to communicate secretly, on how to give someone a document secretly.
The CIA has psychics on their staff.
Exactly. Right. That whole era. Which may be coming back. Yeah. So taking some of the alternative ways of seeing magic skills and applying them through security, through an alternative performance. And the thing we're doing this Thursday is at Sofitel, we're just taking over their lounge area, and we're saying, okay, this is just a classic nightlife thing, but instead of it being, go-go dancers or some sort of a live band, we got magicians, and we're just hanging, and we're doing magic, and it's a regular nightclub thing, but magic, So really it's just finding ways to insert it in different places it hasn't been done, in different ways, and that's just what I love. That's what I love about the art,
And that's why I wanted to showcase what you're doing, because you are deviating in a sense to find those new little niche markets that you can bring your world into. People ask, they're like, so you're going to your brother's race event, why do you have a CBD company there? It's well, why wouldn't I have a CBD company? They're everybody, it's it's accessible to everybody in a sense. If you really start to dig into every world, you or me or anybody really, you're like, wait, there are a lot of crossovers with what we're doing here. So quickly, give us a plug on your shows, the ones that are coming up. And so we can get some of these fools coming out, because I want to come out, because going off of what I was just saying and taking it to the very beginning, you brought up a really good point about comedy and how the only reaction that they're trying to get is one, which is like laughter, you know?
Yeah.
But the reactions that you're inducing are so different that like I just thought about, I'm like, oh, I'm in Hollywood. And then there's a comedian, and we're just like trying to drink and like have, you know, like
Yeah.
it's not the same as like
Yeah.
when you're there and it's eliciting different. Because this was an interesting thing when we came to your last show with some of my friends. We were all gonna go afterwards. We went and we got drinks. I
Yeah.
got fucked up for my
Sure.
friend's birthday,
Yeah.
you know, and like
Yeah.
so it was so interesting in that sense because it straight up took our energy space to a place where we're like, whoa, bro, like we didn't know we were gonna feel like that tonight, you know? But we still had a
Yeah.
great fucking night.
Yeah.
And it didn't deviate at all from the good
Yeah.
time that we had, but it was still like amazing in that sense. So tell me what we're gonna see next from y'all.
So I guess the big things are, well, we're doing something this Thursday. That's the Sofitel thing. We're doing a lounge nightclub magic experience. In October, we try to always put on something, you know, something seance related, something spiritual, something like maybe Halloween-y, right? That's going to come up. We're still settling on the details on that, but we do some shows at a place called Deal Markets, which is a very fun event space. Oddity shop, antique shop. They're super cool.
Nice.
But we, and then probably DEF CON next year in Vegas. Come through. That's a really fun time. Lots of exploring there. You won't have any, you will be left still needing to explore stuff. That's a really cool place. We'll probably do that next summer as well. And April, I mean, you know, we'd always do something in
420.
April, right? Some sort of cannabis event. Looking a lot at
And you've been doing that for years now. Like
this will be our third year.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
It'll be pretty cool.
Because I remember the first
Yeah.
year, and I hooked
Yeah.
y'all up with some
Right,
of the
I know,
yeah.
yes, I
like,
remember that.
so I was
Thank
like,
you,
"What? You're
yeah.
doing a fucking on 420?" Well, it sucked because then you guys couldn't come to my 420 party that I
Yeah.
did, you know. But I was like, "All right, that's cool, you know that you're doing that."
We're
Can
good.
you give us just a little demonstration? Like, just give me like a 5-10 minute like.
Yeah.
Impress me like I would if I grabbed the fly for you and
Okay.
let it go with
All right.
it still being alive, you know?
All right. So this is a deck of 5 symbols, basically recurring 5 symbols, developed by Carl Zener of Duke University, early 1900s. And there's 5 symbols. There's the wavy lines, circle, cross, star, square. Now, what you do is you would have a deck, and if you could successfully turn over the, or predict the card, then you had ESP. That was the idea. So what I want us to do is I want us to try this together. And this legitimately stemmed from a practice that myself and my dad used to do when I was pretty young, maybe around like 8 or something like that. We'd sit in the backyard, and after a barbecue, we'd just be chilling there, and we used to play this game where he would think about something, and I would try to guess what he's thinking.
Nice.
Without asking questions or anything
Nice.
like that. Just try to tune in to whatever he was thinking about and guess it. So I often think about this, and I think about doing this right now. There's a school of thought with thought reading, which is trying to send across something visually.
Yes.
So I want you to imagine right now, let's just mix up our pieces right now so that I don't know what you have in what order or whatever, and you don't know what I have.
All right.
So I'm going to try to send you across a symbol right now. And I'm going to send it across in a big television screen. You're going to imagine a television screen with static on there, and you're going to see the static start to resolve into a symbol as soon as I send it across to you, one of these 5 symbols. So this is what I'm going to try to do here. I'm going to try to get one of these symbols, and I'm going to try to send it across. Okay, this way you don't know which one I'm putting down. And I'm going to always put mine down first as well, okay? Okay, so whenever you're ready, whenever you have that symbol, I'm sending it to you right now, you're going to take that symbol, find it in that deck, and put it right down, face down across from mine. And make sure I don't see, of course. Okay, so let me see. All right, you can imagine the static start to shift again as well. It's starting to change, manipulate, resolving itself into a new symbol. Let's see here. Okay, that's the one. I'm going to put that down right there whenever you're ready. Okay. Now, nice and square up. Here we go. We're getting quicker now. This is the third one, right? This 2 right here. The third one. Third one goes down. Make sure you get the next one. Whenever you're ready. Okay. Now, I guess we'll just keep going here. So we got 2 left now at this point. All right, now it's getting down to the wire. Let's go with that one. All right. Now, here's the thing. At this point, we have 1 left in our hands. And if we've done good up to this point, we don't even have to deal this next one because it should be the same. I'm going to show you mine. This is the one I'm left with. What are you left with?
I'm left with the same shit.
Now, but here's the important thing at this point. The order matters here.
Okay.
So these cards you dealt down, we're gonna leave them in the exact same orientation. All right. So
Okay.
last one that I put down was probably one of the more popular ones, honestly.
Okay.
Last one I put down was the star.
Okay.
Let's see what last one you put down also was the star. Very nice. Second to last one was something a little bit kind of related to the star, had sharp edges. Yeah, last one I was trying to second to last one I was trying to send was the plus sign. Right?
Yep.
Second one was the square.
Yep.
Which means the first one that you gravitated to, the first one that you're seeing in the static was, of course, the wavy lines.
That's lit as fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so, yeah, this is do you want to talk about it a little bit? I mean,
Tell me, yeah.
This
Tell
is
me
an
as much
example
as you
of-
can about this. Yeah,
well-
because there is a lot of modern science coming out to
Right.
be able to like semi-prove
right.
that some of this stuff is scientifically
So
like a reality.
This is funny because I layer on that presentational aspect of it. And I completely 100% believe in the presentational aspect of it. However, when you perform it in the midst of a magic trick, right, you have to have something that is 100% fail-safe as well. So
right. Yeah, like say like one was flipped, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what I try to do with this is talk about something that is real, that I do believe in, but it's a trick. So I do have to have something that always lets it work out right. If I were to try this in a non-performance setting, I might try to really do it, try to do something, and it might not work every time, but then
Right.
it wouldn't be a trick.
Right.
But so this is funny because it kind of relates both the worlds that I actually believe in,
Yeah.
but there's going to be some compromise when you perform it. There's going to be something like that. But this is something that I 100% think that, the one thing I can say for sure is that humans always think they know more than they do. And
Yeah.
anything that's unknown, you dismiss it immediately.
Yep.
And I think there's a whole world out there that we don't quite understand. And just because you don't understand it does not mean you can negate it, because there's so many instances of that just falling completely wrong, right? So anything that I don't quite understand, I never rule out. And I enjoy thinking about it, and I 100% think there's something there. I don't know what,
Yeah.
but I believe there's something there, So that's why this is fun for me.
Damn. Yeah, because this is something that I have dove really deep down trying to find the real research behind what synapses and like cells and all the way to our DNA and like what is really speaking to us.
Mm-hmm.
And going back, it's like, well, how could we learn how to have this conversation just like this, where like we extract information? This is real, it's real. Like people are trying to, as simple as like, there are now things that they've done research and stuff where you're dreaming and then they're putting pictures of your dreams and your thoughts. And so they have like certain different like pictures that come out for certain thoughts, and they're creating a catalog of different things that come out from different, like your brain reacts this way, therefore you're thinking of this.
Yeah.
So
it's emitting things.
Yes,
That's the craziest part.
Exactly. And every single different thing that you're thinking is emitting a different frequency.
Yeah. It's like you think about Wi-Fi or think about radio, right? You can't see it, you can't feel it. It's there. Brainwaves, maybe you just don't have the tools to capture it.
Exactly.
So it's just
Exactly.
one of those bizarre things
Yeah.
where we're still just so new to everything. Like we've been around a while, but
Yeah.
it's so short in comparison to what's out there.
And that's why I think there's like a huge like bridging the gap
Yeah.
from your world into that scientific realm
Yeah.
of being able to like you're doing something like mind reading,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And like to actually be able to be like, yeah, well, this is fucking real. This is not a trick.
Mhm,
I'm not like just like this is not hours put in. This is a real thing. Yes, I put the hours in. That's why I can do it.
Yeah.
But this is as real as like us giving each other a high five.
Yeah.
It's just you don't know if you have not learned a high five. Like you ever give like a
That's
baby
true.
and you go
Yeah.
high five and they're
Yeah.
like they don't know what to do
Exactly.
until they've learned how to high five.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. Like until I was meditating for like an hour a day every single day,
Yeah.
I didn't understand until like I'm sitting with a tree and I'm like, is this fucking tree like speaking to me?
Yeah.
Right now? Like
Yeah.
the fuck? It's not English, but like it's giving,
Yeah.
it's emitting something
Yeah.
to me. So, damn, I'm really glad we did this, bro.
I am too.
Yeah.
This is really fun.
Yeah. Like I always wish whenever I get into these conversations, I'm like, God damn it, I gotta end now. Fuck. So before we finish on this show, please, Jax Ridd,
Yeah.
plug yourself. Where can we find you?
If you're on Instagram, follow me at Redacted. So that's RIDDACTED. Cute little play on words.
Love it.
Website JAXRIDD. FourSuitsMagic.com is a little collective that I'm a part of, and so it's all there really. Just the name has it.
Hell yeah. Damn, great conversation, bro. Give me that high five, Give me that
Yes.
fucking hug, bro. Let's fucking go. Oh, man. Yo. All right. So, y'all have been watching another awesome episode of In the Clear with me, Amir Zendanom. I had an amazing guest on today, Jax Ridd. Oh my God, this was so fun. Dude, thank you so much for being on again.
Thanks for having me, man.
I am so happy that we just got to have this conversation because
Yeah.
it's something I've wanted to have with you for many years.
It was super
and I'm
cool.
glad that now that you are, arguably you are a professional magician, you do this for a living, like this is your career. And now it's like, wow, this is the perfect time for us to actually sit down and fucking talk about this. And that's exactly what we did. So
Dude,
thank you so
love
much,
it.
bro.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thank
much
you.
love. Hayes Radio. Go get the app on the App Store right now, and you can listen to all of my shows on there. I'm on iTunes, Spotify. We're everywhere. This is going to be on YouTube. We're going to put some stuff on Instagram, Facebook. We're on all social media platforms. So check us out. And where? Oh, yeah. And that's how I have to start saying it.
Like-
I need you to yeah. Can you please go subscribe? Excuse me. I need you to subscribe. Click that subscribe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, click that subscribe button, and right next to that subscribe button, you will see that bell icon, and click that bell icon right there. And if you have a chance, just put a little comment in there too. Thank you so much. I love you.